We've recently been drawing this sheep over in the art membership and on Patreon, and I thought it'd be really useful to just take you through how I created this little horn on this side of the sheep's head. So here's an extract from the tutorial, and I'll take you through how I drew this little horn. Hope you enjoy. And then I'm going to work into this horn again with the coal grey 2. Get a bit of base layer in here. Let's just take out the top edge of this horn. There we go. Let's get in some circular strokes in there just to get a bit of coverage down with the coal grey 2 that was. And then just like before, we're going to start to think about just building in these shapes and tones. Now the first one that I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the light ultramarine, work around the tip of this horn. I'm going to try and leave, there's going to be a little light bit where the horn meets the ear. Get a bit of blue around here first. Curve it around as the horn's curving round. Let's come back in with the Payne's Grey and let's start to add some of this detail, just some of these little dark bits, these little dark crevices that are in this horn. I'm just using little scribble strokes, that's all I'm doing. Just want to get some little bits of texture in here, and scribble strokes is just fine because I want it to be quite uneven, quite an uneven pattern. Let's get some darker bit in here, and I'm just going to go to circular strokes. Just using light pressure again. Bring this in underneath as well. Got to remember, I've got to keep that light bit there. That's the top of the ear, and I've already just gone into that, and I want to keep a straight line there. So I'm just going to dab that bit back out. I want to make sure that I keep a nice straight line, or a fairly straight line there. It's slightly curved, but a crisp line. That's what I mean. Right on the top of this ear. I'm going to put that in now so I don't go back into that again. I'm just using curved strokes to start to shape around the bottom of this horn. I'm also going to make sure that I keep a tiny little edge, a lighter edge here. So I'm just plotting that in as well. Plotting it in really, really lightly. Just plot that along the side of that ear, just so that we've got that little edge there. And that's just going to help distinguish between the ear and the horn that's sat behind it. Just that tiny little edge where the light's just catching the tip of that ear, the edge of that ear. And then just bring this around here. I'm just going to build it up slowly. I'm just using light pressure all the time to build it up slowly. And it's just a case of going backwards and forwards with the dark colour, the Payne's Grey. I'll go back to the ultramarine. I can certainly see. This horn's obviously quite blue compared to this one. We had some browns. There's a lot of blues and greys in here. A little bit of pink right up at the top. But on the whole, blues and greys. So really, really light pressure. I want this all nice and diffused. Okay, this is the ultramarine, and I'm going to bring a little bit of this ultramarine in. Just using circular strokes, just little scribbles really. They're not even circular strokes, they're just little scribbles to get this uneven texture into this space. Another light little bit at the top up there. Let's bring this around. Really lightly. I want to build up these layers a little bit at a time. Keeping that tiny slither of light. We've obviously got light catching the top of the ear, a little bit in there, and then the top of this horn as well. So I just want to keep that little slither. I'm using quite a sharp pencil. Because I've just sharpened it recently, but it's still starting to get that little flat point, and it's the little flat point that I'm using. pressing on really lightly with that little flat point, and that's just giving me a nice even coverage. If I didn't have that little flat point on the end of the pencil, I'd get some really, really quite harsh marks on the Pastelmat, and I just don't want that. So even though the pencil's sharp, I'm using that little flat bit on the top, and you can see how little pressure I'm putting down, because you can see that's not even moving. That pencil isn't even wearing down. I don't actually sharpen my pencils that often, not even on the Pastelmat. It's going to work all the way along top of this horn. Underneath here, I'm going to come in with a darker blue. I'm going to come in with a dark indigo. I've already got some Payne's grey down there to get that dark grey bit in there. And I'm going to come in with the dark blue because it needs to be tipped towards the blue. In the middle there, I can see. Just needs to be tipped towards the blue. It's still quite dark, but it just needs to be tipped towards that blue colour. So I'm just bringing this dark indigo over these dark bits, just where I want it to be a bit darker. And of course it doesn't have to be exact. We're just looking to get a nice bit of depth on the horn, just to create that roundness of the horn. We're not necessarily looking to get it exact, we just want to create that roundness. Let's bring it in some more texture in here. Back to those scribble strokes again. Just working down the side of this face. I'm just going to add a little bit over on this forehead as well. Add a bit of this dark indigo. Darken this bit down around here. And then when I've roughly got to this stage, I'm at the stage now where I've got quite a lot of dark down. And so what I want to do now is to think about going back and blending what I've got. I'm going to use a cold grey one and with circular strokes. And I want to use circular strokes for this now, because what I want to do, all the pigment that's gone down underneath, I want to blend it a little bit. And of course I've pressed on lightly with all that pigment underneath, so it's sat on top of the Pastelmat. And as I work over with this cold grey one, I'm just going to bring that together. I'm just going to push it around and blend it. So I'm using the cold grey one and I'm taking it all the way to the edge. We'd left this tiny little bit. I don't know if you can see that there. We'd left that little bit along the top edge. This time I'm taking the cold grey one all the way to the edge with circular strokes and blending the blue, that ultramarine blue that we've just put down, blending it towards the edge of that horn. Bringing that around the edge around there. And I can't stress enough how lightly I'm pressing on with these pencils. I've just blended most of that, and you can see, if I just put my pencil there, you can see that that has hardly taken any pencil off the end of that tip there. I hear quite a lot that people say that pencils get eaten by the Pastelmat. And of course it will if you press on harder, but when you press on really lightly, I don't find that it does eat the pencils. I don't really sharpen my pencils that often. I've just blended over all of that, and that's all that's come off the end of that pencil. So we've blended those bits and taken that right up to the edge now. Just around here, up here, I can see a little bit of the pink colour that we've been using in the rest of the sheet. So this is the middle purple pink. I'm going to come back in with that, and just over the top up here, we've just got a tiny little bit of this purple pink. Again, just a tiny amount. There's nothing coming off the end of the pencil really. Certainly not wearing the pencil down. Just a little bit in here, just to put that little bit of pink in. I can also see a little bit down here, so I'm going to put that in, just using little scribbles. And also I can see a tiny little bit of pink just coming over the top of this lovely light bit that we've got in here, just on the end there. So I've just put that bit in as well, just a tiny little bit on the end there. I want to bring the raw umber 10% in and just bring that together as well. Now the Luminance pencils, because they're thick, and opaque. They really help to fill this grain in really quite quickly. Not pressing on hard at all. They just fill that grain in. I'm just looking for the areas where it's just slightly more green, and that's where I'm using the raw umber 10%. So along here. I'll go between circular strokes where I want to blend an edge or, you know, blend the pigment that's down underneath, and then just little curved strokes where I want to start to put a little bit of the dimension in. So I'll go to curved strokes around here, and I sort of go between the two. There we go. I want to darken this bit down in the middle, so I'm going to come back to the Payne's Grey, darken this bit down the middle, back to little scribbles, almost like little circular strokes, but they're more scribbles over the top of that again, darkening down the bottom as well. And as I come down to the bottom, I'm coming back to those curved strokes just to start that dimension and the curve of that horn. And then of course we want to darken down these little ridges on the horn. Let's darken that down, there we go. Starting to get that shape in. And you could work this as much as you want. I mean, we're getting a nice sort of rounded shape on it now. You could keep going in and darkening bits down as much as you wanted. I'm getting close to where I want to be with it for mine. But you certainly could, you know, add a bit more depth here and there. Just going to bring this Payne's Grey around the edge of this ear, and also just very gently feather it in to the edge of the ear, just so that it looks like we've got a slightly furry, wispy bit on the end of the ear, because of course he's got quite a wispy ear there. I'm also going to take this dark bit into this bit. This is the back of the ear, and I said it was lighter and I needed to keep that light bit. I've put the dark bit in there. That's a bit too light, so I'm just going to take the cold grey 2. Just going to darken that down a little bit, just using that cold grey 2, because it's lighter but it's not that light. So take that down a bit, and also bring a bit of the cold grey 2 up into the bottom here, just along the bottom of that horn there. And let's just have another look. We're nearly there, to be honest. I'm pretty much where I want to be with it. I'm just going to blend this little bit out on the end. So just blend this dark bit with the cold grey 2 right on the end there. Let's just have a look. This is the white, and I'm just going to bring a little bit of white right on the tip. I don't want to make things white. I'm not looking to make things white. What I want to do is just desaturate what's there a little bit, just to bring in an extra bit of dimension. The whole of the horn really can just be built up with scribble strokes. It's quite a nice little project in that respect, because it's just little scribbles. And I'm just going to blend this white and just bring it around, just bring these colours together on the end, bring in a little bit of the white. I'm not pressing on hard. I'm not looking to make things white as such. I'm just looking, almost using it like a blender pencil and using it to desaturate. And I do find the white quite useful for that. We've used the cold grey 1. I'm just bringing a little bit of extra in. I'm also just going to bring a bit around here. And I'm also just going to use it to just carry those little wispy hairs over the end of that ear a little bit. And just bring a couple of curved bits around that. And I think, to be honest, I think I'm probably just going to leave that there like that. The trick with the Pastelmat is just to use lots and lots of light layers, and your grain will fill in, it will just take time and lots of layers. And that's it. This is the final project that we've completed over in the art membership and on Patreon. If you want to join in with the complete step-by-step tutorial, I'll leave a link in the description. If you've got any questions, then feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm always happy to help and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, I'll leave that there and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.